Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of From Stuck to Limitless, the show where we bring you guests who are fire starters and change makers to bring you tips and insights to uplevel your life from stuck to limitless. I am your host, Marie McKenzie, and this evening is no exception. We have an amazing guest. Dr. Wendy Banks Rose. And without any further ado, I'm just going to give her the stage to tell you who she is and what she does. Dr. Wendy?
Blessings, everyone. Yes, I am Dr. Wendy Rhodes. I don't even know like where to start on who I am anymore, but I am a six-time best-selling author, a wife, a mother, of course. Not of course, but I'm a mother and a wife. Seven children together, 13 grandchildren together. Also, I have been a nurse for 25 years. I am currently a wound care coach and expert. So what I do is I provide a safe space for women who have gone through traumas to come and let's unfold that childhood trauma that has lingered into the adulthood to help them to heal, to bring healing to the soul. So what I do is I compare like the physical wounds of a body, like they call them bed sores, physical wounds to spiritual wounds. And so basically that's what I do now. And plus I just help people to rediscover who they are and to be able to bring forth self-love that's redefined, that is beautifully integrated with love.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. You said you used your wound care to now coach. Explain a little bit more about that. What's the process?
So basically, when you're looking at the stages of a wound, a stage of a wound, wounds have different stages. So some people, first off, by definition of a wound, it's a bed sore. So I always say bed sore because most people are familiar with the
Right.
phrase bed sore. But bed sores have different stages. Most people, when they think of a bed sore, they think of this huge, gigantic sore that grandmama had on her backside or on her hip or something because people wasn't turning her and repositioning her. So basically, those are the wounds, but they always start out as a stage one. In stage one of a wound, stage one wound is redness, but it's not open. You don't see any open areas, but you see redness and you see the agitation. And so in that stage, what I end up doing is I found that in that stage, that's where you see anger, bitterness, rejection, different things like that. You see that within that stage, and so on and so forth. When it comes to like stage two, you got stage two is an open area. It's like a scratch or cut or something, but you got to do something to that one. Now, with the stage one, you could just turn and reposition and you won't have to worry about the redness. But that would be the intervention. That would be an intervention for that one.
Right.
But it wouldn't be the treatment, but it's the intervention to keep it from being open. But when you think about it, when you start going to the next stage, like a stage two, you're talking about mental and emotional abuse. Mental and emotional abuse could have come from people treating you different types of ways, or it could be something that's hereditary. So somebody could mentally or emotionally abuse you, or your family could have like this hereditary thing of having mental and emotional abuse,
Mm-hmm.
which is that cut that we deal with. So when you're dealing with somebody that has that mental and emotional abuse, they need therapy. Therapy is required in this stage to let them know that it's not okay that somebody treats you this way. It's not okay for somebody to mentally or emotionally abuse you. But if you're talking about the mental portion of it that has come from your family, you may have to be on medication. You may have to learn how to love yourself, or learn how to manage better mentally, allowing yourself to be able to heal, or even take different things in a different way and not so personally, and not clock out. That's like a stage 2. But a stage 3, you're talking about you're going into the tissues a little bit deeper. When you go into the tissues a little bit deeper, this is where stage 3 is considered to be drug abuse, alcoholism, and prostitution. Those are
Mhm.
the ones that I put in stage 3, because it goes a little bit deeper. You could have had a family member, or in the family, down the family line, you could have people who have had drug addiction and alcoholism. When that stuff falls off on you, even
Mm.
prostitution could be hereditary. If your mama felt like it was okay for her to be whoring around and being a prostitute, and she didn't teach you nothing, that might just be something that you end up doing too, that you feel like is absolutely okay. But it takes more to heal from that. It takes more to get rid of those people who are on drugs or have had alcohol abuse. It takes more to heal that. It's not just, I'm not going to take that drink. It it it's deep in the family lineage. It is
Yes.
deeper than that, and it takes more to heal that. So we have interventions for that, where people have to learn how to counteract that, so that they won't fall into those traps. And then you got a stage 4, which is a gaping wound that goes all the way down to the bone.
Mm.
Could you
Mm.
possibly imagine a wound that you would have that goes all the way down to the bone? That would be rape,
Mm.
molestation, you
Mhm.
know, different things like that would be like in a stage 4. It's so deep down to the bone that it's going to take a whole lot to heal that. But the healing happens from the inside out. And the reason why I put this as a stage 4 is because when you're dealing with a stage 4, it's like a shock to these people who have been raped, who have been molested, who have went through domestic violence. All of those fall into that category. Because could you imagine starting to date somebody and you don't realize here they come putting their hands on you? Could you even imagine somebody touching you in the wrong way and you thought you were friends, and here we go, we got date rape going on here? Could you imagine your uncle or cousin or somebody taking advantage of you? These things are a shock to people.
Yeah.
So just like a stage 4, how a stage 4 really happens is because of neglect. So when people are neglected, when you're not turning and repositioning or even changing that wound the way that it should be, which these people were mishandled. They were mishandled. And the way that these people are to heal is from the inside out. It's going to take way more than just therapy, because they lose themselves in all of that. They lose their self-worth. They don't feel like they're worth anything. They lose their self-love. They don't even want to look in the mirror at themselves. And then you have the unstageable wound. Usually an unstageable wound is a necrotic sore. So like a lot of times you may see somebody in the bed and their heels are black and you wondering, where did this come from?
Yes.
It's like a deep tissue injury. These deep tissue injuries could come from generational curses. And so when you're talking about a deep tissue injury, these are things that people down your lineage never dealt with. Nobody in the family. But wait a minute, you might be the one that's designed to break those generational curses. Like you know. So yeah, this thing goes pretty deep though.
Yes, that's deep. And as a nurse, I am familiar with the stages of the wound. As a matter of fact, that was on our agenda today. We talked about the different stages of wound and how to treat it. We're teaching our residents today. So
Yeah.
that's a very powerful platform you're championing. And so my question is, what led you on this journey? What transpired?
Well, so to become a wound care coach, what led me to
Yes,
that portion of it? Let me
yes.
tell you, it was a God thing. It really was a God thing because even though I've been in nursing, I have hit pretty much every area of nursing. I've done med surge, I've done long term care, I've done assisted living, I've done, home health, I've done telemetry, I've done all of those different things. And, I usually only give a place a certain length of time. Like, after you're at a place 3 years, I'm sorry, you've tapped out after 3 to 4 years.
Mm.
And this is just me personally, this is
Right,
what I saw
right.
is after 3 to 4 years of being within a company as a nurse, you have pretty much tackled everything that you can within that company, and it's time to go somewhere else to get some more skills. But that's my personal opinion. But
Yeah.
this is what I've seen with me. But the last job that I had been a unit manager there, and I left and I took a break. And this was after COVID. I was a unit manager for several years. And then after that, I left for a little while. The executive director asked me if I would come back to help them out, and he wanted me to train this lady on doing wound care. And so I trained this lady on doing wound care, and that didn't exactly work out like how it should have. And so I ended up taking the wound care position. And God wanted me to take this position because I was only going to work part time. And God said, take the position as wound care. I have some things I need to show you. So
Mm.
as I'm there doing wound care, I started noticing different things because when God starts to elevate you at different levels and start to showing you different things, you tend to be like, wait a minute, what is this?
Yes, yes,
So
yes,
even
yes.
being blessed to heal people, not only with just being able to come up with a care plan, but having God's plan on the inside of you, that naturally your hands are made for healing when God actually anoints you for that. And you really find out firsthand what happens when you are anointed, appointed, and authorized to heal other people.
Sister, yes.
I was in a patient's room one day and I couldn't get his heels they just wouldn't heal for nothing in the world. I don't care what I came up with. I've tried everything. I've even called one of the district people like, hey, I'm really having issues with getting these heels to, this man's heels to comply. And even like with the nurse practitioners and doctors, and they like, you're doing everything that you should. And I'm like, it's
Why?
something I'm not doing. So one day I had prayed before I came in his room, and I walk in his room and I immediately start to get really emotional. And I'm like, why am I so emotional as I walk in his room? Tears just start running down my face like waterfalls, literally like waterfalls. And the man, he didn't really speak English very well. And he said to me, he's like, Senorita, don't cry. He could, I could understand that. He said,
Yeah.
Senorita, don't cry. And I'm like, you just don't understand. I feel so bad. I can't heal your feet. And the spirit hit me so hard. I could just feel my whole body just getting hot and my hands were just on fire. And as I cut the wraps off of his feet, I was prompted to pray, to lay my hands on his feet and just start to pray over his feet. And as I
Wow.
laid my hands on his feet and just started, of course, I had gloves on. So let me go back. My disclaimer is I had gloves on. I had gloves on, but
Okay.
I laid my hands on his feet and I prayed over his feet. And I went back to the basics with betadine and I started
Mm.
wrapping his feet. And I was prompted to do this every day. Now, these feet were a hot mess. When I tell you, it was like you could smell them. They were torn up like somebody ran them through a meat grinder or something.
Wow.
And I was led to go back to the basics of using betadine on these heels. Within 3 days, there was a miraculous change in his heel
Wow.
within 3 days. I was like, you should have seen my face. Like, what in the world just happened here?
Can only imagine after being chronic for such a long time, no progress.
Right. And they just miraculously just like, and with a 180 within a week, they were cleared like just like nothing ever happened to them.
Wow.
And this had happened to several patients that I started taking care of, but I started actually seeing how God was working through me to help heal these people. But once you recognize it, you walk in it and you know that it's not you, but you depend on him and you take all of his instruction and everything that he told you to do, you do it. And so from that point, it was several people that I had taken care of that came in that were chronic, and the healing was like that. It
Wow.
was like that. It was a guy came in with a stage 4. He had been to 2 to 3. Our location was the third place. He had been to 2 other places, and his wife has said, it's been like this for a long time. And she said, I don't know what you can do. I said, it's not going to be me that do it. It's going to be God that do it. I said, do you mind if I pray? She
Mm.
said, I'll join in. I said, cool, that's even better. Where 2 or more are gathered in the midst, he'll
Yes.
be. His wife said, yes, yes, yes. So we started praying. And at that point, I did it again. I laid my hands on him. I did everything that I was instructed to do. I came up with a formula that I was guided to use, the formula to get everything together. And within a week, everything turned around.
Oh,
And
hallelujah.
his wife was looking for me. Where is she? Oh my God. But I told her that's exactly who it is. It's God.
Yes. Yes.
It's
Yes.
not me. I'm like, I don't want the credit for what God do. I don't want the credit for what God do through me. If he used me, then I'm his vessel for him to use, but I don't want the credit. I want to decrease where God can always increase. And I know it's him. I know it's not me, because if it was me from the beginning, I could have did that,
Right.
but it wasn't, because I didn't know what to do. But because I was trying to do it before my own strength, there was no way I couldn't do it. I
Right.
couldn't, because I was doing it in my own strength. And that's what happened. So that's how we end up here is when I left there, God had guided me through, different things of showing me this is what he had been showing me. This is what the spiritual wounds and physical wounds run parallel. They run parallel. What's the difference between the spiritual wounds and the physical wounds? And they both have a care plan for each one. But
Mm.
at how deep is it? How deep is the wound is usually the case. And what kind of care plan would you put together for that type of wound? And that's how I end up there. But God he guided me to someone that helped me to tap into that.
Hmm.
And I tapped into that. And as God, He led me to tap into that, and He led me to release, because it's like it was certain things that God needed me to see that's in me. And
Hmm.
then, like I said, God will allow you to deal with people for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And you
Amen.
have to only use people that God placed in your life. If He put them in there for a reason and a season, don't be trying to make them lifetime people.
Don't go beyond the expiration date.
There you go. Like we talked about, the spoiled
Yes.
milk. We can't
Yes.
go past the expiration date. The spoiled
Amen.
milk.
Yes.
You your cereal will be nasty and your belly will be hurting.
Yes, yes. It's amazing when you're in tune with God's plan and his purpose for you, how he guides and directs. You know, you have the intuition, the discernment, and you can tell, okay, it's time to move away from, this party or that, or it's time to elevate to that level, or it's time to wait. So we have to be in tune, listen, study his word, trust, and obey, otherwise, yeah. So you have used these transitional skills now over to your coaching platform. So that's
Yes.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's so,
Also my podcast.
yes.
Um,
Tell us
yeah.
about your podcast. You are not your trauma.
Yes. You are not your trauma. Really, that was birthed from the fact of God showing me and healing me from my traumas of being a 14-year-old that was raped by four guys and being in a domestic violence marriage for 18 years. And I lost myself. Like I wouldn't even look in the mirror. I didn't think that I was beautiful. I thought that um, I was worthless. I was shamefaced because I felt like you could see everything that had happened to me. It was almost like seeing the words of everything that happened to me, like all
Mm,
over me. And that I felt like that's who I was, until God started showing me that this is not who you are, it's what happened. But I will take those things that has happened to you and I will use them for the good.
amen. Amen. All things work together for good to those who are called according to his will.
Yes,
Right.
yes, that's right. Yep.
Yes. Another thing you have going, self-love redefined.
Yes.
Explain that
Self-care.
to us.
That was birthed
Self-love.
from that.
What?
God was birthing a whole bunch of stuff through me. That is when I learned how to love myself. I learned how to love me. I learned how to love every bit of me. I learned how to love every pound, every wrinkle, every row, every, frown mark, every whatever. I learned to love it all, because God loves all of me. And once I discovered how much God loved me, He even led me to start doing affirmations.
Mm,
And I started putting affirmations on sticky notes and I put them on my mirror inside the bathroom. Every morning that I would get up, I would say to myself, I am beautiful. I am confident. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I am the righteousness. And, I would, everything positive about myself, I would say it every morning to command my day and to let me know this is who God says that I am. I am who God says that I am, and that I am loved, I am loving, I am caring, I'm compassionate. My mirror was full. Let's put it that way. And the more I did it, the more I believed it. The more you feed, it's what you say to you that
Yes.
matters. The more you say the positive things to you, you can build you up better than anybody else can.
Yes.
We can
Yes.
tell you all day, you're so beautiful. Why do you feel this way? Because the enemy has allowed you or have fed you that lie for so long to now you believe it. But then when do you transition? When do you turn that lie around? You turn that lie around by telling yourself the opposite of what Satan is telling you to tell you.
Right. Until you believe it. Self-love is the greatest love because if you don't love yourself, you won't be able to love anybody else,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
we
you
got to
have to
redefine
start
what
with
that looks like.
yourself.
Exactly.
I always tell people change the voice, change what you're telling yourself because you're listening,
That's right.
right? Because you're
Mhm.
listening. So, Dr. Wendy, anything that you want our listeners to know? Any last thoughts for our listeners?
Well, what I will say is everybody has traumas. Everybody have had a trauma. It doesn't matter for each person, the trauma looks different. Somebody may not have gone through domestic violence like me. They may not have even gone through rape like me. But for them, a trauma could be somebody was yelling at them. But understand that everybody is not going to yell at you. And it does not define you. I could understand like what it feels like when somebody is yelling at you. It takes a piece of you away. You become nervous and you question everything about what you do. Everything. But know that you can do all things through Christ. That
Right.
that gives you strength. He gives you strength, and the joy of the Lord is your strength.
Yes.
And so you are not your trauma. I'm not my trauma. I am not wearing it as a badge of honor. And I tell people, do not wear it as a badge of honor because that badge has got to get broken up and thrown in the trash or get burnt up. You are
Amen.
not your trauma. And there's another thing, and this is something that God had me really thinking about, is that men have traumas too.
Yes.
Even though we know that men have traumas, as a wife or girlfriend or whatever that don't understand their husband or their significant other or whatever, you don't understand why he don't talk. You don't understand why he don't do certain things, or why he don't compliment, or why he don't say certain things, or why he don't react a certain way. But then you so worried about it because you like, wait a minute, something ain't right here. And this, I'm not happy with him because of this, that, and the other. But we don't look at the fact that he has traumas too. We don't see his traumas for seeing our traumas. It's almost like our traumas have increased where they have decreased. A lot of men are told, oh, when they're a little boy, you don't cry. Men don't cry. Well, let me tell you something. You guys out here that's telling your little boys don't cry,
Mm.
those make for some hard men to become somebody's husband. Let him cry so he can understand his wife. Let him cry so he can learn how to express himself. Because when they're like that, they don't know how to express themselves. And us as wives, we don't see their traumas because all we see is our traumas. Because men are hard on the exterior and don't express themselves. But
It's
I
like
learned
I'm a
that.
man. I got a man up. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's not right. It's not right. And so many times I didn't realize that until like I dealt with that with my husband. And I kind of ignored his trauma or the things that he had gone through. I ignored that. And once we were able to deal with certain things, it made us a lot stronger because I was like, God, have I really just been neglecting his feelings like that?
Mm,
I'm like, man, I just don't want it. I don't want him to feel like that I'm just disregarding who he is as a man.
mm.
But us as women, we reach out to people and we talk to people. We have people that we can get on the phone and talk to, but men are very private and they don't. But this is just something, regardless to everything else that I said, this is such an important thing for us as women to know is that we got to show compassion for our mates because they have traumas too. We have people that we can reach out to, but they have people that they won't. They just won't.
Powerful. Oh,
So,
thank you so much for saying that. And that is so true because so many men are like ashamed, afraid to open up and express their feelings. And as you said, as women, we talk a little more to each other, but the
mhm,
men, they'll talk to each other, but not about their trauma,
that's true.
not about their trauma. So, who is your coaching program for? Just tell our listeners and how
Well,
they can contact you.
listen, my coaching program is for women. I'd say men too, because I really got to get out of the fact of, out of saying that it's for women. Because when God started showing me that men have traumas too, this is for men too. This is for men too, to be able to have a place where they can come to and they can talk and they can have somebody that really truly understand that they have had some traumas that they really need to be able to release to someone.
Mhm.
But this is for women and men who have gone through traumas, who need to save the little girl or the little boy that's over in the corner that's still stuck in that place called there, that want to heal from the inside out, to bring about spiritual growth, to bring about healing to their souls so that they can learn how to be happy, so they can learn how to love themselves and to learn how to love others in a more effective way and learning how to have more effective communication within their relationships.
Yes, thank you so much for saying that and about including men, because I started out that my audience is women. And for the
Mhm.
past few weeks, it had hit me very hard that I need to be including men.
Yeah.
I actually have a scheduled speaking engagement in April, and I'll be addressing men's male sexual assault.
Wow.
Yes.
Yes.
So, I mean, for you, we both started out for coaching for women, and you never mentioned this to me before. And it's like we're both coming, God is giving us new message. We
Yeah.
got to take care of our men.
Yeah. Because,
We have to
before
take
I
care of our
was
men.
women overcoming unresolved issues with necessity and determination. But now it's the world overcoming the unresolved with necessity and determination. So it still would be wound care, but it's the world that's
Yes,
involved.
yes. And
It's a world thing.
we need to encourage everyone to get involved in ending the sexual assault or whatever the trauma is. Get
Yeah,
involved, be active participants instead of silent bystanders.
that's true. That is
We all
so
get together.
true.
Together we can end this madness.
Mhm.
So how can the listeners find you, Dr. Wendy?
Well, I am on all social media platforms as Dr. Wendy Banks Rhodes. Also, my email is selfloveredefined@gmail.com. My website is selfloveredefined.com. I do have group sessions and also I have one on one. So I offer one on one sessions as well as group sessions. So I
Thank you
am,
so much. Is there
yes.
anything else you want to add?
No,
Any
I'm just,
last thoughts?
thank you for having me here.
Oh my God, this is powerful, powerful, powerful. So, listeners, if you're out there, you may not need Dr. Wendy, but you know someone who does, please, please, please reach out, provide them information. And
And
when
they can
they,
also listen to my podcast at You Are Not Your Trauma
yes,
with Dr. Wendy Rhodes. Mhm.
yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Wendy, for being here. And we'll love to have you again.
Yes,
Thank you,
ma'am.
listeners, for tuning in, and see you next time.